It goes in the front door at the Vatican Bank and out the back door. And the Nazis aren't the only ones that have done it. The Mafia has used the Vatican Bank for years, and a fella who I've been in contact, Marty Frankel, is sitting in a federal prison in Texas for his part in the disappearance between somewhere of $50 million and $250 million of insurance money. All went into the Vatican Bank.
I mean, really, doesn't the Vatican operate kind of like one of these, the Cayman Islands or the Bahamas, or the way the Swiss do? The Swiss are the armorers for the Vatican, historically, are their bankers. The City of London itself, I mean, all of these little special incorporations all have histories of this, don't they? But I don't think anybody has a history quite as deep and serious as the Vatican.
Well, they're pretty serious, and the reason is, of course, they have diplomatic immunity. Archbishop Marcinkus, that little piece from Phoenix was about, lived in Sun City. He was a criminal. He was wanted by the Italian authorities, but no one could touch the man because he had diplomatic immunity conferred upon him by the smallest country in the world, the Holy See.
So that goes back to the old thing of sanctuary.
Well, it's sanctuary, but it also goes to sovereignty. Remember, the Pope wears three hats. He's head of the church, he's the Prince of Vatican City, and he's head of a sovereign entity called the Holy See, which has diplomatic relations with well over 150 countries, and therefore diplomatic immunity.
Did you see how the Vatican refuses to pay Italy their power bills? I mean, again, I'm not hearing a Vatican bashing fest. It just needs to be looked at. Is there any idea how great the wealth of the Vatican is, or is that a secret? Well,
it's not a secret. The Vatican will come out with some phony figures every year saying they're worth about $24 million. But the wealth is unbelievable, and it's what we've discovered in just suing the Franciscan order. Was that at one address in California, at one little address at one monastery in California, 24 different corporations were registered. Now, you add that up from place to place, and there are literally tens of thousands of entities masquerading as independent entities that are all really the Catholic Church.
Amazing, Mr. Levy. I want to come back in the next segment and get into the Vatican banker getting hung, and you call it the Illuminati. I mean, is that just another name for secret society or mafia? I mean, what is Illuminati to you?
Illuminati is a secret society, but it's not just a secret society. It's a secret society that uses spiritual warfare, and not just economic, but spiritual warfare as well.
You mean they believe that, or they use the religion to control people? What are you saying?
Well, I think there is such a thing as good and evil, and as others have said, we look at warfare, and you have political warfare, economic warfare, and there's another dimension, which is spiritual warfare. And some things are done that are just so evil and contrary to humanity that you'd have to say it goes beyond mere economics and politics.
All right. Well, we're getting a window into somebody who's been suing the Vatican for 10 years. Since 1999, he is Dr. Jonathan Levy, professor at Norwich University in the field of terrorism, of all things. He's been one of the most successful people ever in suing them. We'll come back and find out more. As you look at all these different power structures around the planet, I'm going to talk about this once our guest is gone. They all at the top nexus in with other elites, and I think it's key to see the overall global crime syndicate of these little nation states and these little private corporate systems. The District of Columbia is its own private corporation now. This is how things are done inside the New World Order system. Going back to our guest with the website VaticanBankClaims.com, and big news blitz coming up in your calls, VaticanBankClaims.com. Okay, I mean, there's so much. We got to have you back up in the future to spend a whole hour with us, sir, and take phone calls. But in the limited time today, I mean, there's no doubt the Vatican admits a lot of the Nazi loot went to them. And then you were getting into Serbia and the Croats, who, for those that don't know, they were the puppets for the Nazis, and all the stuff there. And then who financed, the takeover of Serbia. You're saying that's the Vatican. Break that down.
Well, absolutely. There's no question that Croatia received its funding from the Vatican or Vatican financiers in 1990, 1991. And that's where we think a lot of the Nazi loot went to eventually. To break up Yugoslavia, which was, after all, the goal of the Germans, of the Vatican, and of the Croatians.
And why was that their goal?
Well, think about it. Yeah, you know history, Alex. Who killed the Austrian Archduke in 1914 and caused the fall of all the empires?
Well, that was the Black Hand tied in with the Vatican and British intelligence, is what I read.
Yes, but it was they blame the Serbs for that, ostensibly. Yes. Yeah, and of course that's why the Serbs have always been on the chopping block there in the Balkans. That's the excuse, at least. And, of course, the excuse, again, for breaking up Yugoslavia, turning it into a bunch of mini-states. But we aim to see, where did this money go to and what was it used for? And to correct you there, no, the Vatican does not admit that it ever took any Nazi gold. They'll do everything possible but to admit to any kind of wrongdoing.
Well, they even say Ratzinger wasn't a Hitler Youth, though, so it's kind of getting ridiculous.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we know we have a eyewitness, thank God, a U.S. intelligence agent named Bill Gowan, who was there in Rome, 1946, 1947, as a young counterintelligence special agent for the U.S. Army, and he investigated this, and he gave 4 days' worth of testimony in a deposition, verifying everything that I'm telling you today, verifying that a 10-truck convoy went first to a monastery in Rome where they changed it out from British license plates to Vatican ones and drove right in there to St. Peter's Square, claiming they had church property on it. And he interviewed and debriefed the people involved in that operation. Okay,
tell us about, there's so many things to discuss, the famous case of the Vatican banker dying and how that ties into things.
Right. Well, the Vatican Bank, also known as the Institute for Religious Works, has been involved in one scandal after another, and many scandals that we aren't even aware about because they got away with it. The Calvi case was high finance at its worst. It involved the largest bank in Italy, Banco Ambrosiano, involved operations in the Bahamas, and ultimately in North America. Some people claim it triggered the savings and loan crisis in the 1980s. And it was a purposeful destabilization of Italy's largest bank by a group called the P2, who I think were Illuminati, and one of their many guises, the idea being to take over Italy. And it caused disruptions worldwide. The people involved, Sindona and Calvi, both died mysteriously. Marcinkus went into hiding at Sun City, Arizona. And the epicenter of the whole thing was the Vatican. So it's sort of like the Dan Brown book.
Do you think that the Vatican is at the heart of the European Union? Because I'm trying to learn and ferret this out. I know Blair is converted so that he can be head of the EU. That's admitted. I know that the European Union, they say that is Roman Catholic, and that they want it to, be the new, quote, center of a global Europe, according to the British Prime Minister, Gordon Brown, and that the Treaty of Rome set up the European Union, and now U.S. Army documents have been declassified. You probably know about this, that the Nazis knew they were going to lose in 1944, so they put their money into dummy corporations and said, we will rise again as a European Union. Are you familiar with that?
Well, yeah, I'm familiar with that theory, and there is a lot of things to support that. First of all, some of the symbolism, even the flag of the European Union and of the Council of Europe is taken from the altar at the Cathedral of Strasbourg. That is those stars, circular stars. And there was a forerunner to the European Union called the, Pan-Europa Union, and it was the same flag except with a cross in the middle of it. So
stay there. Let's do 5 more minutes on the other side with our guest, Dr. Jonathan Levy, VaticanBankClaims.com.